Good morning, everyone. This is another episode of Hot Route Takes. I'm your host, Chase Owens, along with my good friends, Brian Sarver and Christian Mills. This is our week 15 takes episode for the podcast. We've got two big time topics lists late in the year that are worthy of discussion, and I think we're going to have some disagreement in both of these segments. Um, Without further ado, I don't want to waste any time. We're going to get right into it. This first one here is going to be the AFC wildcard race. Each of us are going to give our three wildcard teams. I think if I had to ask right now, we'll get this out of the way. Do we think the division leaders? Well, I don't want to spoil anything either. We'll hold off. All right, I'm gonna paint the picture, set the table for the audience here. As we sit right now, AFC division leaders got the Ravens sitting at 10-3 at the 1 seed. Miami is the 2 seed sitting at 9-4. The Chiefs and the Jaguars both lead their divisions and sit at 8-5 as the 3 and 4 seeds. As we sit right now, there is one 8-5 team as the fifth spot and the first wild card. That's the Cleveland Browns. And then you have 6 separate 7-6 teams in the AFC. And it's jam-packed. Only if Cleveland is to stay in, if you think they do, we'll get debate on that later, but that would mean only 2 of these teams can get in. And we each have to go through and give our predictions of which teams we believe in the most. So to set the stage for this, I'm going to reel off each team and their remaining 4 games. The first is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They will be traveling to Indianapolis this week. Then they host the Bengals, away against the Seahawks, and then finish at the Ravens. Next team is the Colts, who play the Steelers at home, then travel to Atlanta, host the Raiders, and then host the Texans to finish out. Next team is the Texans, who travel to Tennessee, host the Browns, host the Titans, and then travel to the Colts to finish up. The next 7-6 team is the Broncos, who are away against the Lions this week on Saturday, host the Patriots, host the Chargers, and then finish on the road against the Raiders. Next up, the Bengals, who host the Vikings this week, then travel to Pittsburgh, travel to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs, finish at home against the Browns. The last team, the Buffalo Bills, host the Cowboys this week, travel to the Chargers, host the Pats, finish the year traveling to Miami to take on Brian's Dolphins. So that's the picture. That's the stage we have. Those are all the 7-6 teams. How do you want to do this, guys? You want to just start off with your 7th team? You want to start with your first wild card, the 5th seed? Probably a little more better to start with the 5 seed, I would guess, the one that you believe the most in to punch a ticket in the playoffs, huh?
Are we going to do one at a time, or each person's going to go through their...
I think we should do one at a time. Their 5 seed.
Okay.
Someone start us off. Yeah.
All right. Christian, you want to lead the way, man? You normally...
No. You go ahead and lead the way, Brian. You seem like you want to, man.
Whoa! I mean, okay. If we must... I went with the Denver Broncos, man. I think that they've continued to improve each week as the season has progressed, and I think they really just had a rough start, and since then they've rattled off a bunch of wins and have looked a lot better, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, but also on the offense, just kind of figuring out what Russell Wilson can and cannot do, and finding ways to position him to have success. And I think that that's what they've done. Cortland Sutton, a little bit of Jerry Jeudy, but really this run game as well, they've been leaning on with Javonte Williams and Pirine, Samaje Pirine, and the offensive line has been getting pushed, and they look all right, man. I went with Denver.
Okay, I'll follow you up here, Brian, and I'm going to preface this by saying my requisite to make this playoff push and punch a ticket to the playoffs in the AFC is solely based on schedule. I feel how I feel about each of these teams. If you're asking me who I feel the most confident in as a roster, I'd say the Bills and the Texans and the Browns. Those 3. Whoa. Go ahead, Brian.
Sorry. The Broncos do have a light schedule with the Patriots, Chargers, and Raiders to finish the year after they play Detroit, of course, which they can win that game too.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at here, guys. Like, I think the Bills, Browns, and Texans have the most capability out of all these teams to win a playoff game against one of those top 4 teams. But I'll just to spoil some things here. One of those teams does not make it because they have a loaded schedule, and I just have them finishing below the other 2 AFC wildcard teams. So my 5th team, the first wildcard, I think it's going to stand pat. The Cleveland Browns stay at 5. I did pick them to get upset by the Bears this week, but they finish out with 3 favorable games. The defense has been solid all year, and I think they can pretty easily get to 10 wins. I would not be shocked to see them get to 11. 11 in the AFC will certainly snap you in there. I think they can get that and get to the 5 seed. So that's my first wild card team.
Yeah, I went with Cleveland also. I just think, at home at least this year, they're 6-1. That's if they keep that up, they have 2 more home games to finish out the year. So that'll leave them, 2-2. And I ultimately think they won't lose 2 more games. I think there might be 1 more slip up, but I just think with Joey Flacco at quarterback now, it just seems like their offense is clicking at a better pace really all season. So I think with Joe Flacco stepping in now, it gets the offense moving in a positive direction. His defense, I've praised enough all year.
All right. Gotcha. I mean, that's fair. Cleveland is above everyone else by a game right now, so they got the natural leverage right now. But for my 6th place team, I did go with Cleveland. I do think they get in. I do think they drop a game at some point here, whether it be the Bears, the Texans, Jets. I mean, I can see them losing any of the final 4 games, honestly. So still, I think they're a good team. I think the defense really carries them. We'll see how far this defense can take this team.
Got you. My 6th seed in the AFC is actually going to be an AFC South team. I went with the Houston Texans. I think the schedule, as I've already mentioned, is the key factor here. They finished with 3 of 4 games are going to be divisional, 2 of them against the Titans, and then they finish on the road in Indy to finish the year. Sandwich that with the Browns game. I think they pretty easily reel off 2 of those. I would be confident in. I picked them to win 3. I think they'll sweep the AFC South games with both Titans games and the Colts, and that'll get them to 10 wins. And CJ Stroud will make the playoffs as a rookie, a huge feat for that franchise.
I actually went in a different direction. I actually went with the Colts. So I think, this week playing the Steelers, next week playing Atlanta, and then the Raiders. I just see 3 games that are very likely going to favor them. I know I think both of y'all maybe picked the Steelers this week, but I just can't get behind Mitch right now, and I just think this Colts defense is going to give him a headache this week. So, and I think CJ Stroud, still hadn't got the whole news on if he's playing or not, but that's, to me, no CJ Stroud, you're dropping this game already. It's coming up this week. So I think it's going to be really, I can see Houston. I think it's going to come down to the very last game of the season on who gets this wild card spot, and I just lean more towards the Colts than Houston.
Yeah, I went with Houston for the final seed as well. So CJ Stroud's company, as long as he's healthy, which I would assume he will be back. I agree with you, Chase. I think that he pretty much sweeps the South. I think he can lose one of these divisional games, but I do like them to beat Cleveland. So I went with Houston.
Okay, and my final team is actually going to be the last 10-win team according to my predictions in the AFC. I went with the Denver Broncos. I think they have the lightest schedule. I think I predict them to lose this Detroit game this week, but a game they very well could win. And then that last 3 guys, if those are 3 layups, they're pretty much layups, right? Home against the Pats, home against the Chargers without Justin Herbert, and then traveling to Vegas. Russ would have to implode and just be making the mistakes, like turning the ball over, which he really hasn't much this year. So I believe in Denver to take care of business against those 3 teams, and that'll get them to 10 wins. And I have some really good teams that'll be the outside looking in. I had the Steelers finishing at 9-8, the Bills finishing at 9-8, and then I had Cincy and the Colts finishing at 8-9. I'm just not too much of a believer in either of those teams, but that's the way I see it unfolding. I've got Browns Houston is 6th seed because they have the head-to-head with Denver, and Denver has the 7. So
That's funny. We got the same teams, and
Just-
I can tell you looked at all the qualifiers and all that because it's close. And those are the teams that have the advantage in the divisional games and things like that.
So Christian, you've got Indy and Cleveland so far. Cleveland has the 5. Who is your final team to get in, the 7 seed?
My final team is actually the Buffalo Bills. I expect Denver to have a meltdown at some point. We've seen them at a very high point, and I think we've seen them at their low point. And I just expect with the pressure adding on to them now and knowing that they could possibly win the division if KC keeps slipping, I just think Buffalo knows what they have in front of them, and that's definitely this week says a lot for my pick. But they have to beat Dallas this week. I have them winning that game, and I think once after that, you're going to LA to play the Chargers. No Justin Herbert. You're going. New England's coming to Buffalo. I think that's, definitely in my the Bills' favor. And then the last game of the season is going to be against Miami, and I just think, we see right now the injuries. I hope by the end of the year, maybe Miami can clean that up. But at this point, I'm favoring, Josh Allen and Buffalo in that game right now more than Tua and the Miami Dolphins. So at this point, I just see Buffalo controls their own faith, and we know how great this team can be. So I just see them winning out the rest of the year.
As a fan of a AFC team, I think Buffalo is the team I least want to make the playoffs, especially if they were to draw the Ravens in the first round. If you're facing them as a lower seed, Josh Allen can go into your place and beat you no matter how good a football you're playing. Personally, I'd much rather see the Colts, the Bengals somehow, or Pittsburgh and that offense that's atrocious, and face them if the 2 or 3 seed, however this thing ends up breaking, if you are to play round 1. But truthfully, guys, is there any of these teams that you predicted to make that wins a game week in wildcard weekend and pulls an upset? To me, I've got Houston, Denver, Cleveland all making it, but I'd be hard pressed to pick them against the 2, 3, and 4 seeds that looking like it'd be Miami or Baltimore as the 2 seed, Jacksonville and KC as the 3 and 4. I just think all of those teams are so much better than what we have left here. But as I said, the Bills would really scare me if I was any of those teams.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville can get upset by whoever takes the 5 seed. I can see it.
Okay.
Denver, maybe. The defense is good. We've seen Trevor Lawrence have some sporadic play at times. Like last year when he got down by a ton against the Chargers, but ultimately came back in the end. But I think that's the team, though, in my opinion. I think Jacksonville.
I picked Cleveland, and also
any thoughts, Christian?
I think
Any team you believe in more?
Cleveland for me, I think, definitely Jacksonville, they can win that game. And honestly, I can see Cleveland upset KC, to be honest with you. I think you maybe think that's a reach, but I think how good their defense is and how KC's been struggling in late. I just see just what Cleveland has on defense really giving KC a trouble, definitely in the wide receiver room. So then you're looking at Isaiah Pacheco coming back and maybe not being fully healthy by playoff time. And then you're just depending on Travis Kelce and him to really go against this Cleveland team. And then I just think Jacksonville, we've seen at some high points this year. I think it's just the opposite of what they did last season. We've seen them come in very slow and get hot. And this year they got hot and now they're cold. So, this is not the time to be cold. So if you go into the playoffs, Trevor Lawrence, I think, would hopefully be 100% by playoff time. But if he's looking like how he's looking, what we've seen last week, I can very well see Jacksonville get upset and just – that's the 2 teams I would lean that could really make some noise if they made it. The Colts, I just don't see them having enough firepower to really upset one of those top teams. But I could definitely see Cleveland or, like I said, the other team make some noise. And Buffalo, like I said, if they get in, that's a nightmare for, I think, either 3 of those teams if they get in.
Yes. I would be terrified if the Ravens drop to the 2 and have to play Buffalo wild card weekend. Like, that would be miserable. It's playoff football. Like, the Ravens lost to the Colts, and they can lose to any of these teams. If you boil it down to just one game playoff, obviously any of these teams can be beat. But for me, the things that scare me most is the teams with quarterbacks that can just go out and take the game from you. And I think Houston has that, and Buffalo has that among all these teams better than anyone else. So those are the teams I'm watching out for. I may or may not be pulling for not to make it, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to beat good teams no matter which route you take to get to the Super Bowl. And that's what I want my Ravens to get there, and Brian wants his Dolphins to get there. Like, it doesn't matter. You're going to be playing a good team. So that's it. I guess we're pretty similar, me and Brian, with the same 3 wildcard teams. Christian throwing the Colts in there as well, and the Bills. So he differed a little bit. No surprise. Christian's pretty different from us on most of our game picks and stuff. Anyway, he's always planting his flag. So respect to him here. I think he's going to be a little bit different in our next segment as well. What we have for you guys is going to be the MVP voting with a little caveat. I think if we were to take a survey right now between the 3 of us, we would have guys that aren't at the QB position in top 5 voting for MVP, such as a Tyreek Hill, who knows AJ Brown's having a great year, Christian McCaffrey, all those guys theoretically could get votes. But we all agree that it's such a QB award. That's the way we boiled it down to. We picked our top 5 quarterbacks, and the way we think they are in the standing right now in terms of MVP finish. So, I mean, there's loaded. There's probably 7 guys I had in the conversation. I'll start us off here. The 2 honorable mentions I have is 2 established guys that just didn't quite make my list. That would be Patrick Mahomes, great quarterback, obviously the best in football for my money, and Jalen Hurts. I think he's having a great year. The Eagles are 10-3, but these other 5 I have a little bit higher. So to start us off, I'm going to tell you a few things of what my criteria is to get your spot in this top 5 and to where I slotted you. So I look at the analytical numbers. Those are my favorite things to look at in terms of like passing grades, big time throws, turnover worthy plays, adjusted or average depth of target, how much you're pushing the ball down the field, and your adjusted completion percentage, which takes into account balls that should be caught that end up getting dropped and adds them to your completion percentage. Next, I looked at the team record. I want you to be on a winning team. If you're leading wins and pushing for that 1 seed, I think that knocks you up a little bit in my when you're splitting hairs. That's what I'm looking for. And then I just lastly look at the counting stats, the yards, the rushing yards, the touchdowns. Not as important in my opinion, because, you know, counting stats can come at garbage time. It's hard to really break down those numbers, but I didn't totally disregard them. So to start us off, guys, sorry, long-winded, but that's my criteria. Start us off. 5th place, I have the rookie, CJ Stroud. 7-6 record is hurting him. Yeah, 7-6 record is hurting him more than any. But when you look at his numbers, his passing PFF grade is 78.2, offensive PFF grade 81.5, very solid numbers. He has 20 big-time throws, only 17 turnover-worthy plays. His average depth of target is the highest of any of my candidates at 9.7 yards, and his adjusted completion percentage is 73%. The counting stats, he has the highest yards in among my top 5. It's 3,632 yards, 8.2 yards per attempt, and 20 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. And you throw in the rushing totals as well, 143 yards for 3 touchdowns. So CJ Stroud, great rookie year. I think he's got that locked up, and he'll get some MVP love from me. Only thing really holding him back is the Texans being 7-6. I think if they were 10-3 or not 9-4, he'd probably be 2 or 3 on my list right now. But I have him at 5 for now.
Christian, go ahead, man.
All right. Honorable mentions. I also have Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. At number 5, I also have CJ Stroud. I think, you know, this guy was a top pick, went to a team that was not supposed to be winning, and he's done it since day one. The guys like Chase said, I'm not going to beat the drum too hard. The Chase just really hit everything I could really hit. I will say he's also been, 23 drops, I think, from when he started till now. That's great, but I think last week a little rough for him. Definitely the concussion scares me now moving forward. These stats might not be going forward that great because I don't know how much time he's going to miss. But I just think, the 5 interceptions, very impressive to me for a rookie to come into the league and do that. So, and then Chase really hit a lot. The only other thing I guess I can really say is just what he's done for this team, and also shown that, when the whole draft process happened, he's not a runner. He's shown that he can be. And I just think, moving forward, they have a bright young star and definitely going to win probably Rookie of the Year, but also has at least my vote for an MVP talk.
Golly, I love the CJ Stroud love, guys. That's awesome. I have 2 honorable mentions. One was CJ Stroud. I did not think he was going to be in y'all's top 5. But the other one was Patrick Mahomes. I think that both those guys are deserving of the top 5. You can make a case for them. But my 5th guy is Brock Purdy.
Wow, Brian.
I put a lot into this system here, and my criteria is a lot of analytics and just stats, and also what you're being asked to do in offense with the supporting cast you have and how difficult that job is to execute. And I love Brock Purdy. He's putting up phenomenal numbers, but he also has the best supporting cast of anyone. And it is what it is. Jalen Hurts was putting up phenomenal numbers last year in a similar situation where everything was clicking. The offensive line was bulldozing guys. The running game was going, and he was just operating off of that. I think that Jalen Hurts has taken a step back this year because things are just not clicking the same way. I think San Francisco, man, they're riding a high right now. They're playing phenomenal. Brock Purdy's lighting it up. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not, but some of these other guys, what they've been able to accomplish with what they have around them is more impressive to me. It's objective. As best as I can be.
Obviously a very objective award, but interesting that your criteria involves the supporting cast. That's not something I particularly leaned heavy on. I think each of these guys in my top 5 have rosters around them that are more than enough. Maybe some guys are doing more with less, yes, but end of the day, I'm more leaning on the numbers they're putting up, and at the same time acknowledging who they're getting the ball to and all that good stuff. So. Number 4 for me, was able to do it. I didn't want to be too biased here, but I stuck my own guy in here. I think the big caveat for Lamar Jackson being at 4 is the Ravens are the 1 seed. They look like one of the best teams in football. And then he's not going to light up the world in terms of passing yard counting stats like these other guys are. But when you look at efficiency and you add together the rushing totals, it makes for a really good line. So the things I have for Lamar, he's actually similarly graded. A lot of his stats are pretty close to Brock Purdy himself. 79.8 passing grade, 84.7 offensive grade, PFF. He has 19 big-time throws, only 14 turnover-worthy plays, 9.2 average depth of target. I think he's the only other guy over 9 in that category, so he's really pushing that ball. 76.6 adjusted completion percentage. And then you get to the rushing totals, man. 5 touchdowns for 644 yards. That's when you put the total yards together on top of that 2,900 of passing yards. Then you're looking at 3,500 total yards, which is pretty much in line with most of these other top 5 candidates. So that he don't have the touchdowns, and his interceptions are low, but thankfully. But the touchdowns, and I'd say just a few more counting stats are holding him back, and he's just not being asked to carry this offense like previous years past. If that was the case and he was putting up these numbers, maybe I've had him higher, but the top 3 guys are just playing slightly better football to me. And you know how much I love my guy, but I got him at 4.
Dang. I think Chase and me might be sharing screens because at 4, I also have Lamar Jackson. So I just think, like Chase said, he's got his division 1, I think, at this point. And just to me, I will say, I really didn't have him this high until what I seen last week really made me move the needle for Lamar. Without Mark Andrews, we seen him still a close game. I mean, he had to play the best game probably you can say of the season. Besides the Lions game, was probably the best game he's played since he's coming back from the injuries, you could argue. But I think, the big credit on him still is going to be accuracy. But I just look at, like Brian said, I look at the weapons he's given. Other than Zay Flowers, I guess OBJ's finally turning it on. But a lot of this offense is really Lamar Jackson making it happen. And I think, there's been weeks, if you go listen back to the pick'ems, we review the picks and stuff, and it's just Lamar Jackson's leading the team in rushing. Lamar Jackson's leading the team in rushing again. We're going to have to figure this out, Chase, but week in, week out, it's still happening. So at the end of the day, I just know, and Chase definitely knows, I got this guy at 4, definitely in MVP talks, because with him on this team versus without him on this team is 2 totally different teams. And to me, that's what makes you an MVP. You have that much of an impact on your team that if you're not there, it's a big, big difference. And I just don't see anybody definitely in their quarterback room that could just step into Lamar's role and make it look like it does right now.
Yeah, I promise to everyone we all did this independently and did not cheat off each other, because I also have Lamar Jackson at 4, and it's a lot of what you guys just talked about. I don't want to beat the drum too hard here, but his weaponry is not – it's not – it's. I know they invested a lot. It's just still not great. You compare it to a lot of the other top offenses in the NFL. Of course, Mark Andrews and J.K. Dobbins inserted, it looks a lot different, but they're not there. And Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, I think that's a good young duo right there, but I still don't put too much into Bateman. I did before the season, but I would have expected him, if he was going to be something, legit,
Same.
to take the receiver room by the horns, and he just hasn't done it.
Brother.
And then Odell, how much does he really have left in the tank? He can probably finish the season out as long as he can stay healthy, and he can be a good piece. But I really wouldn't look past this year for Odell. But, yeah, credit to Lamar Jackson, man. He's done awesome things with somewhat limited supporting cast. And the Ravens have the 1 seed in large part because of him.
Yeah, if there's anything, Lamar always gets bumped up a little for me, because Brian sent out a stat to us earlier this week that just the guy is a flat-out winner. And people used to knock on Joe Flacco for kind of doing the same thing. So the Ravens are a well-run organization. They put talent around their QBs, but Lamar actually has that flair and that style, and it draws the audience of the things he can do on a football field, along with now winning games like the Ravens are accustomed to doing. That's always going to have him in that conversation because he's the focal point. They win games. He's going to be around. Right now, he's not putting up better numbers than these top 3 guys, and that's why I have him at 4. My third quarterback is Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. I have some more of these stats to reel off for you guys. The passing grade, an 80.1, offensive PFF grade, 84.8, 23 big-time throws. People don't say he pushed the ball down the field and can make throws that other quarterbacks can't make. Well, he's got Lamar and C.J. Stroud beating that category by a few numbers. 15 turnover-worthy plays, 79.7 adjusted completion percentage, the highest among my 5 right here, and 3,500 yards passing, 25 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, not really putting the ball in harm's way too much. So just great numbers. Right now, you get to these top 3 guys, I think you're splitting hairs. San Fran's a great team, but I think he isn't asked to do as much as my top 2 guys right now, and that's why I have him at 3.
Goodness. At number 3, I have Brock Purdy. I think, my big thing is just, I've talked a lot on the pod. This guy makes his team so much better. It's the quarterback that's finally could be Kyle Shanahan's answer. I think we've seen multiple quarterbacks come in and try to be the answer and just has not worked. And I think a lot of people talk about, the 3 losses in a row. And I kind of looked into that when we did this. And the big thing always came back to Debo was out. Once Debo came back, the offense went back to what we known they were. And since Debo's came back, they just look untouchable right now. So I think, you can maybe say this, the weapons and stuff, but Brock Purdy's putting the ball on the money for this team. And I understand how the coach draws it up, but they have to find the guy that can actually deliver it. And Brock Purdy's been that guy. So, the only other thing I think Chase maybe did throw that I maybe missed, but PFF grade 84.8. And just, I think, the dude's only had 7 picks, 25 touchdowns. Impressive to me coming off of his injury that he did suffer, last year. And it just seems like once he came back off of that injury, he has not missed a beat.
Yeah. For my third quarterback, I have Tua Tagovailoa. This is where I slotted him. And kind of like I had mentioned with Brock Purdy, I think it has a lot to do with the supporting cast that he has. I think you can make a case that his numbers are the best of all the quarterbacks if you look at every number out there. He just pushes the ball down the field with a high clip and does it accurately and gets his playmakers involved. And what more can you ask of a quarterback? That's what he does. And Tyreek Hill's having the best stretch of his career. And a lot of it is because he's got Tua at quarterback in this system that allows him to get the ball to him quickly, accurately, in stride down the field. And not many guys can do it like Tua has. One of the big things that he's been able to do is to mitigate pressure. He's not going to be a guy that's going to just straight up outrun the edge defender, get the edge, and then juke somebody out. That's not really his game, but he has a good feel for the pocket and knows how to step up and avoid rushers and find passing lanes. Very fluid, quick twitch in the pocket, and he's also got a really quick release and gets rid of the football. Does not take sacks. And our offensive line has struggled this year. Lots of different lineups, so just credit to what he's been able to accomplish, and also credit to Tyreek Hill because he's also a big part of this offense. So kind of played into where I slotted him, but still 28 big time throws. That's like third most in the NFL. Leads NFL in passing yards, second in yards per attempt, fourth in touchdown passes, second completion percentage, fastest time to throw. And I added this in here for everyone. Since McDaniel took over here, to his stats without Tyreek Hill on the field. 1,092 yards, 78% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 114.2 passer rating. So he gets the job done when Tyreek Hill's not on the field. That I understand. Everyone's looking at the Monday Night Football game and saying, oh, the Dolphins' offense didn't work. It had more to do with the offensive line than it had to do with Tyreek Hill.
I think that's just really the story of the NFL that no one really pays attention to, but games are often won and lost in the trenches. And all these quarterbacks can make do with lackluster offensive lines, some more so than others. Yep. But if you want them at their best, you got to give them some time to throw. And Tua's doing a great job. I actually have him second in the MVP order. A lot of those numbers Brian just reeled off are only trailing the guy I have at number one. 90.6 passing grade, 88.9, both second in the league. As he said, 28 big time throws, leading the leagues in yards, 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Just anticipatory throws, the ability to maneuver in the pocket, step in the face of pressure, and still deliver an accurate football more often than not. Very good quarterback, man. And the Dolphins are 9-4. When's the last time the Dolphins were 9-4?
I think it was 2002.
Tyreek Hill or not, like this guy's engineering it. They're right there. If they win out, they are the 1 seed. Like I know. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. If Tyreek Hill or Tua is the MVP of this team, and what balances and who draws more attention, this and that. But that's really going down a rabbit hole. This list is quarterback exclusive, and I see Tua as putting together performances week in and week out that puts the Dolphins in positions to win a lot of football games because I think, for my money, it's the best offensive unit. I know it's a struggle fest Monday night, but it's a week-to-week league, man. They put up 70 points against Denver, who's played really good since then. Like, they're really good offense, man. I think Tua steers that, so he's number 2 for me.
All right. At number 2, I have the man, Josh Allen. I know the interceptions do look bad, but I also think about this team without him on this team. And if they go on the run that I'm saying that they're going to go on and win their next 4 games, he has to be in that talk because he's going to be the one leading the way for them. So I just think, he does only have 374 rushing yards, but he has 10 touchdowns rushing. He has 25 passing touchdowns. He is tied in first for the interceptions, but I think that's just really what he has to do for this team to win is he has to play hero ball week in and week out. And to me, if you don't think he's in MVP talks, it's just a little crazy to me just because, the dude's PFF grade's a 91, the completion rate's a 66.9. And other than Dalton Kincaid and Diggs and now Cook, the other wide receiver weapons have not been there all year for him. So, I have Josh Allen. I know a lot of people are probably not going to agree with this, but MVP to me is what I just said about Lamar, the most valuable player. And I just know if Buffalo didn't have Josh Allen, dude, they wouldn't even be close to what they're doing right now, definitely in the season.
Yeah. At number 2, I got Josh Allen as well. I understand he's thrown a lot of interceptions this year, but it's just kind of like Lamar. They ask him to do a lot, and he does a lot. He can do it on the ground. He can do it through the air. He makes a lot of big time throws. And he's got Stephon Diggs. And to me, that's really the only solidified top weapon he's got. Now, I don't know what you can do to add to this because they've invested a lot with Dalton Kincaid. Gabe Davis is there. Whatever you want to say he is, I think he's really like a receiver 3 kind of. But they don't really have a receiver 2. And the run game has been sporadic. Yes, they've got James Cook more involved recently, and you see their offense has picked it up and they're winning games. So I just think Josh Allen's a really good player, man. It hurts as a Dolphins fan. It does. I think Tua is really good, and I think that if you were to swap these players and put them on different teams, I think Miami's still pretty good. I think Buffalo takes a step back. I think both teams really take a step back. I don't think they're great fits for other teams, but I think Josh Allen's still a really good player. Tua could be successful in offense, but it would definitely not be what it is with Josh Allen because he is the offense in Buffalo. But, yeah, Josh Allen, number 2, man.
Wow, really shocked by both of you, honestly, and maybe it made me realize how much I'm weighing the team having a good winning record. CJ Stroud's my only quarterback with a 7-win team, and that's Josh Allen's record as well. So I guess I could have fought both of them for that 5th spot. But I think the other guys are just have a chance at 1 seed. Like, it would take a miracle for Buffalo to get the 1 seed. It'd take an MVP performance.
Oh, yeah.
He does that, I think, yeah, go ahead and give the guy the award. He's playing good. Like, he's still Josh Allen. He's still a very good quarterback. But for the Bills' performance more so, he did not make my top 5. So shocked to see him there at 2. But still, not to discredit him. He's having a great year. So.
Are we all going to have the same number 1?
I think we're all going to have the same number 1. And when I deep dove these numbers and compared each quarterback, this guy stuck out more than any. It's Dak Prescott. And I kind of flirted the talk when he was playing good football a few weeks ago. We were like, man, Dak's going to do what he does. He's going to get in the spotlight, and he's going to throw some interceptions, have a terrible game. The Cowboys going to finish like 10, 11 wins, second to the Philly in the division, and just be who they are. Well, Dak took that performance Sunday night against Philadelphia and said, no, we can just win the whole 1 seed in the NFC if we can win out and play like we're supposed to play, and I play quarterback like I've been playing all year. He just has continued to impress week in, week out. The highest graded passing grade in football, 91. The highest graded offensive quarterback, 92.1. 32 big-time throws. Wow, just 8 turnover-worthy plays. Only not like the whole laughing thing about Dak Prescott is the interceptions, and he has the fewest turnover-worthy plays in this conversation. 77.4 adjusted completion percentage, and then you get to the counting stats: 3,500 yards passing and 28 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. So everything you want. He's playing the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Does it continue for the last 4 weeks and he win the MVP? I'm not sure. I'm still not sold because they have good opponents coming up to finish this year. So I don't know if he hangs on, but as things stand right now, I have him as the MVP of the league.
Yeah,
Christian?
my number 1 guy is Dak Prescott. My big thing is, the last 7 games, he has 23 total touchdowns, and he's averaging 310.3 passing yards per game. So that really, to me, like you said, he's just outbeating a lot of guys, and what he's doing with Dallas right now is impressive to me because the meltdown hasn't happened yet, and it just honestly does not look like it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with Dak Prescott too. I'm not going to beat the drum. You guys nailed it pretty much. But what I will say is we pretty much all have the same guys in the top 5. There's just one guy that wasn't mentioned on Christian's list, and there might be some bias over on that side because I don't know how you look at the stats and the numbers and not put them on here. But
what guy did I miss?
It is what it is.
What
I don't
guy,
know, man? Who did you miss?
I don't know. My honorable mentions was Patrick Mahomes,
second highest
Hurts.
passing grade. I don't know, man. Did you not see him when you were looking at the stats? Was he not there?
Oh, wait a minute. There's a guy coming up. There, here we go. Let me see. It's pulling up. Let me look real quick. Let me look, man. It's coming. Just give me a second.
So that's a refresher.
Oh, here we go. Right here. Tyreek Hill, his career stats, he has 9,882 receiving yards, 75 touchdowns. Now he's on the Dolphins and having a fantastic year, but he's not a quarterback, so I didn't put him in this list.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. With that said, obviously all 5 of these quarterbacks playing great. I think if I was to look at betting odds favorites right now, Dak Prescott would be the betting odds favorite. I'm not sure any non-QB is in the top 5, but if I had to venture to guess, Tyreek Hill would be the guy. So, do you think Dak puts a stinker together in these last 4 weeks and he just falls back to earth a little bit, and Dolphins win out, get the 1 seed, Tyreek Hill eclipses 2,000 yards receiving? Is that enough to award the first MVP to a receiver over Tua? Because me and Brian touched on his numbers. They're not bad. They're certainly MVP worthy if the Dolphins end up with the best record. But then you're getting in that debate, well, is he even the best player on his team? Whereas these other quarterbacks is kind of no question. I don't know. I think I would still lean Tua. They just seems to be a QB award, and I know 2,000 yards has never been done, but I'd have to see it to believe it. Do you guys agree with me, or you think Tyreek Hill could actually win this award?
Yeah, so what I would say is if Tua does end up throwing for 5,000 yards and has 35 touchdowns, he's got a case for it, although it wouldn't be my pick personally. I think there's other guys more deserving out there, but I just don't think it should be a receiver, man. I think it is a quarterback award if you look at it from this perspective. Like, yeah, he threw for 5,000 yards. Tyreek Hill had 2,000 of them.
Yeah.
Like, the engine runs through the quarterback. Yes, weapons are very important. Obviously, the ball's got to go somewhere, and guys got to get open. They got to make plays, and it's kind of a product of the entire system. It's hard to point out one guy in any team, but quarterback does the most in each and every play. They're kind of the leader of the unit. So I would be leaning Dak Prescott.
No, I think right now I'm just not going to bring an argument. I just think it's Dak Prescott at this point. I think it's kind of his award to lose. I don't see them having a point where they're going to lose it.
Well, I recognize that, guys, but the scenario I'm trying to paint here, just say, I don't think it's going to happen, but say the Cowboys lose 3 of their last 4 and Dak throws 6 interceptions in these games, you know what I'm saying? And his numbers take a real big hit. And maybe the Niners end up with the 1 seed in the NFC and Brock Purdy's got great numbers. The Dolphins or Ravens end up with the 1 seed and Lamar Tua has great numbers.
I think they're all kind of in play, man. Depending on
I was about to say that, really all these guys we've mentioned today, they can win this award. You can have 2-3 really good weeks, really high totals and yards, touchdowns, and clean performances, and propel yourself to above Dak, which we have at the top right now. But I don't think he's unreachable. Is my point.
I think, like you said, if
that
go
were
on
to happen,
a losing streak, like you're saying, my vote would honestly be Brock Purdy. I think where he was selected. I understand they're not going to look at that, but I just think who he is coming back, like I said, off of an injury last year and what he's done with this offense. I think Brock Purdy to me would be a go-ahead vote versus the other guys just because what he's doing with this 49ers team, and they're not missing a beat once they are all healthy on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, like we had just said, it depends on the finish, and there's a lot of really critical games here down the stretch that's going to put quarterbacks in need situations, must-win situations. You're really going to see it, and I think that's really what it's going to come down to. And basically, when you said that, what happens if Dak implodes down the stretch? My next guy is Josh Allen, but then I got to thinking, can I put him in there if the Bills don't make the playoffs? I don't think they are. I just made my prediction. You know what I mean? Like, can he be the MVP if he doesn't make the playoffs? Is he playing at that level? I think so, but gosh, I don't think he wins the award if they don't make it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, guys. That's why I didn't have him listed. I think that record, it tends to go this way. It feels like there's rarely times you look at a guy's number and you're like, okay, he's unanimous MVP. The NFL 17-game schedule. There's great quarterbacks everywhere. a lot of them put up pretty similar numbers, and you're at points just splitting hairs on a few more totals in different categories. And then what everything boils down to is what Christian was harping. Who's actually the most valuable? Who do you take off that team and like, whoa, they're not getting to that record without that guy? And which team ended up getting to the record that was the best among all the MVP candidates, quote unquote. So that's the way this award goes. That's the way I kind of see it going as well. So great talk. Unless either of you guys have something to get us out of here on, I will wrap things up.
Nope.
I'm good.
Christian, you nothing about Tua? No final jabs at him?
No, I'm good.
Hey man, this is a fun topic. I think these two segments we did today go hand in hand. Brian mentioned that a lot of these MVP candidates are going to be put to the test in clutch situations and playoff football, and once we get there. But those type of moments, I don't care who you are, voters especially. I know it's a small sample size, but it plays into their minds. If you leave them with an image of, hey, I just won my team the final Week 18 game to get them to the 2 seed and had a miraculous performance and just put up gaudy numbers, that's going to sway your favor for the MVP voting. And obviously, as we touched on in the first segment of this pod, the closing finishes of the AFC wildcard race is going to play hand in hand with the division race. Buffalo, Miami to finish the year, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, 1 seed implications, all that good stuff. Exciting stuff for the wrap-up quarter of the NFL football season. So, as always, guys, we thank you for listening. Continue to like, share, and subscribe. Give us a follow on Twitter. I am at ChaseOwens96. Brian is at Sarver_Brian Tua Train. And Christian is at C_Mills241. And if you would, please like and share the podcast itself, rate and review it. Like and comment on all the Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts videos we get posted for you guys. And thank you as always. We will see you for the Week 15 recap on Sunday night and have that for you on Monday morning. So thank you all for listening. Peace out.
Peace.
Get better, Tua.